Hey there again, it's Ray at 321 Airsoft, and today we're working on a KWA SR10 that had some problems. It's just normal wear and tear. This one, the user says it's about 2 years old, and it's been working great up until now. And we dug inside of it, we've taken it all apart, stripped the gearbox down to basically the shell and the bearings and all the components. And the one thing that we've got here is a little bit of piston wear. I don't know if you can see this, but the second tooth, third tooth, fourth, fifth, all the way up to the sixth tooth have pretty much been stepped on. I call that stepping on because it looks like the gear just got on top of them. They're worn down. This may last a little bit longer, but for the most part, we're going to go ahead and replace it with the Bravo 10 tooth metal and reinforced heavy-duty polycarb piston. This is like the it's like the red one. They have a blue version and they have a red version. The red version is like the supposedly the super polymer poly piston. So we've used them. They work pretty well. If you don't shim them right, you can strip this part. But these are nice because it has the second tooth already cut out. So we're going to go ahead and install one of those in there. This segment may be a little bit long because we're going to put this gearbox back together and lube it and step by step. And if you get bored, go watch something else, or just stick around and we should have the second segment. Everything else looks good. Gear teeth, everything. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start. Oh, I forgot to tell you. KWA, shame on you. You make really nice guns, except for your cylinder heads. And use a polycarb piston head, polycarb cylinder head with a little brass air nozzle. There's a lot of other companies out there, KWA, that are selling their guns in the same price range that you are, and they're not giving you this plastic crap. They're giving you aluminum cylinder heads, which is what we're going to replace it with. So this guy here, look at that, cracked right in half. Everybody can see that. That was causing feeding problems, obviously loss of compression, all that good stuff. This is basically foobarred this gun, and you could tell that the material just cracked. It's brittle. It shattered like a piece of Captain Crunch under my fingers. Anyway, this is gone, and now we're putting in its place a Bravo aluminum cylinder head for version 2 with a double O-ring. Now, I've already pre-lubed the cylinder and I've pre-lubed the cylinder head, and we're going to go ahead and marry these guys together. Make sure if you're using a ported cylinder, folks, that you put the port in the back. So many times I've seen people put the port in the front and then they come crying to me that their velocity is like 10 feet per second. Well, duh. If you've only got this much piston compression and air volume right here versus this, yeah, your gun's going to suck big time. So I'm going to go ahead and push it on there. Oh, I went too far. Anyway, that sucker should pop in there and create a nice seal. Actually, we get it back in there. Wow, it's hard to get past that point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the piston in there and then just guide it up to the point where, wow, I can't get it to, look at this. Come on, O-ring. Getting lube all over my hands. Alright, I know what you're all saying. I should be familiar with that. Thank you. Thank you for all the comments. Anyway, there we go. This would be putting the porting on the other side, so I'm just going to rotate it around so that when we look at our gearbox, let's get this guy out of the way and bring in the one we're going to work with. Always work with the gearbox shell that has the switch in it. And we're going to put the switch in there, but this is ready to go. It'll seat in here nice and comfortably. You got to remember with the Bravo, they've got a little rubber bumper on the front, so it may just barely fit in there, but we want to make sure it fits before we do it. And, that looks good. So that's going to go in there later. Let's just put it off the side for now. This piston is ruined, gone. Next step is we're going to go ahead and get this piston ready. We've got the spacer that goes in the back. What I recommend using is a magnetic head screwdriver. Okay, it'll stay on there. It's supposed to stay on there. Maybe they're using polycarbonate screws, but anyway, thread this guy up into there so that it's up into the piston head like that. Keep it pushed up in there, and let me grab some of this medium Loctite. Right, this is medium so that we can get this stuff back off later. But for the most part, why do I keep saying that? Just drop a little bit onto the screw head. Sorry if I'm getting too close to the camera. And there we go. And drop some on there. And this guy is going to line up to, there's a little pin on it. Some of them don't have this, and there's a little hole. If your piston doesn't have that hole, I don't recommend trying to drill one in there, because then you're going to compromise the strength of the piston. And then the piston will actually shatter on the head. So I'm going to go ahead and do this in reverse, because I didn't test how tight that was on there, but that's pretty tight. So I'm going to go ahead and snap that on there, and then we're going to do it from this direction. We're going to put some more on here since I just wiped it all off with my hands. Go ahead and put it on your magnetic tip if you have one, and then just thread it up into there. Screw it on. It's got thread tight, so just hand tighten it down like that. That's good enough. Let that thread lock that piston head on there. If you don't use thread lock, there's a good chance this will loosen up, and then it'll start flopping around in your cylinder and actually score the living daylights out of the inside of your cylinder. It's a bad idea. Next step is we're going to replace the O-ring on here.